What's up? What is going on? Welcome to the Risen Fallen podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hendrickson, and this is the podcast where you can hear open and authentic conversations about things like mental health, self-development, getting the help you need, connecting with others, getting your life in a good direction, a direction that you're feeling good about, and trying to strive a little bit closer to happiness and a healthy life. And so I do my very best to share my stories, which is what I'm going to try my very best to do today. If you're brand new to this podcast, that's the kind of stuff you can expect. Sometimes I do interviews. Sometimes I just do a little rant like I'm going to do today by myself. That's been a little bit more common recently because, well, frankly, I don't have Wi-Fi in my new place yet, and I'm stuck by myself. So welcome to the show. If you're not brand new to this, then thank you very much for coming back to this and joining us once again for all the support that you give. I really do appreciate that. You guys, whether you are brand new to this show or you're just a returning listener or maybe you've listened here or there, whatever it could be, no matter what, if you are listening to this podcast, you are the reason that I do what I do. Yes, you. That's you listening to this right now. I'm just going to get kind of cozy on the couch here, just kind of chilling out. It's winter time. It's snowing right now here in Vancouver, but I'm staying cozy, warm. I got my sweater on. Should probably Photoshop this with the Risen Fallen logo, but you can get Risen Fallen hoodies and tees as well at risenfallen.com. The proceeds to that go towards the group that we have where we meet up and try and meet up in person, if not on Zoom every single Sunday, and just connect. Again, that's just providing a little bit more connection and community for people out there that kind of need those things. It's a pretty sick group. Last week we went for a little hike. We did a little coffee and just sat down in a little coffee shop and chatted for like a good hour after the hike, which was pretty dope. I really do appreciate those conversations. It's kind of like it's just refreshing, and it's really nice to connect with like-minded people that are looking to do the same things that I'm looking to do as well. So that's really dope. If you want to join that group, if you want to join that community, then reach out to me on Instagram at risenfallen, and I'll throw you in the Telegram group, the Zoom calls, and you can come and meet up in person if you're in the Vancouver area. But with all of that out of the way, let's jump into the story that I wanted to tell today. So the story I'm going to tell, I'm just going to kind of sit back and get cozy here. You know, a few years back, I think I was probably like maybe 18, 19 at the time. So it's almost 10 years ago that this happened. And essentially what had happened was I had never gotten help for my depression. And my depression was kind of leaking into my life in a lot of different areas. My work life, it was leaking into my relationships. It was leaking into the way that I felt about myself, the way I felt about others. It was really just taking over my life. And it changed the way I viewed myself. It changed the way I viewed everything. It changed the way I reacted to other people, what they said, and it changed all of my behaviors. It was like I was a completely different person. And if you struggle with depression or anxiety or any other mental illness, anything like that, you know, I'm sure you can relate to that, where it just kind of makes you change everything about yourself. Or maybe you've lived like that for so long that you're tricked into thinking that that is who you are. And it's not. And life can and will get better for you. And I can promise you that. But you just have to grind your ass off and, you know, well, I guess I'll just tell the stories. So, yeah, a couple years back, it was probably, like I said, a decade ago, so quite a few years back, I'm in this pretty toxic relationship, arguing all the time, kind of cutting each other down all the time, and it started off great. It started off like feeling like that person was supportive of me, feeling like they lifted me up, feeling like, you know, they made me better, and I was always fearful of, like, I had this codependency feeling like I don't know if I could make it on my own. Like, I kind of needed that person. And that's pretty common as well when you're depressed or when you feel anxious all the time. You know, you develop this codependency to people that just seem familiar in your life, that feel like, you know, they've been there for so long that you don't know how you can function without them. And I'm sure Many people have felt like that before. That's why we stay in abusive or toxic relationships, right? And so I'm in this relationship and it's pretty toxic, pretty shitty for both of us in reality, but especially in my perspective, but not at the time. But in hindsight, I can definitely say it was toxic. But one day we get in this argument and the relationship's kind of on the brinks. And basically what happened was, my girlfriend at the time, now ex-girlfriend, she says something along the lines of, and I'm not quoting her verbatim. I know she probably is never going to listen to this, but she basically looks at me and says, "You're fucked. Like, you need fucking professional help. You need help badly, and I can't fucking help you. Like, this is beyond what I can fucking do for you, and you're fucked." And again, she probably didn't say it exactly like that, but that's the way I perceive what she said. And there's a lot of truth behind what she said as well. She could have delivered the message in a more graceful way if it was delivered like the way I remember. But again, your perception is shifted when you are in a fucked up state of mind, and I was. So like I said, there's a lot of truth behind what the message that I was given that day. And, I just didn't perceive it that way. I didn't really think of it or ever really feel that way before. I was like, maybe this will just get better. Maybe she could help me get better. Maybe I'll just get better one day randomly. But it was a message that really hurt, but it's because it was something that was true and I needed to hear. And no one was ever really willing to tell me that. And so she basically is like, "Look, we're fucking done. Here's a fucking doctor's name and address, and they kind of helped out someone I knew before, but you need to go fucking talk to this person." And so I'm fucked, like I was told. And I'm basically like, all right, well, I've got no other fucking options because at the time I'm severely depressed, really fucked up. And so I go to this doctor's office and I'm sitting in the waiting room thinking like, man, I don't really know if I can go through with this. Like, I don't really know, like, no one really knows about this side of me. I've always been really good at hiding the way I feel, hiding the way I, internalize my emotions because I've been a class clown my whole life. Like, I've kind of been, in my perception, the star of the show. Like, I've always kind of just been like kind of, all eyes on me. Like, I'll fake being happy. I'll fake being loud and obnoxious and outgoing so that these people don't know that I'm actually scared as fuck and not feeling good at all. And so I'm sitting in this doctor's office and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what's going to happen. This is completely out of my comfort zone. I've never been in a situation like this. I've never spoken about these feelings before. So my name gets called, doctor calls me in. I sit down in this fucking, what feels like a fucking, like that, the old school portables you do math class in an elementary school, but it's obviously like a regular building. It's just an old ass building. And I sit down there and it's this kind of like old ass dude. He's got like slick back gray hair, glasses, and he's sitting in his chair and he's looking at me like, okay, like what's going on? Like, how can I help you out today? And I sit there and tell him everything I'm feeling from beginning to end. I'm sitting there like fucking sniffling, bawling my eyes out, fucking crying, and I'm just like telling him like, look, I'm fucked, like I need help, and I really don't know what to do. I feel like there's no hope, like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he just sits there and listens. And I basically feel like I'm talking to a wall. I feel like I'm talking to fucking myself at that point, which is, I guess it's kind of funny how it's come full circle because I'm literally sitting here talking to my fucking self at this point. But, so I'm sitting there in his doctor's office and he basically just sits there and listens to me. And I'm just like fucking pouring my heart out. And after about like 15, 20 minutes of me just kind of sniffling away, blowing my nose, fucking, like I'm pulling fucking, it's the works, I'm fucking sniffling away, just fucking leaking out of my face from every fucking hole in my face. Probably even, yeah. So I'm sitting there leaking, and he basically listens to me the entire time, and he basically, at the end of it, just says, wow, like, that's really sad. I'm really sorry to hear all this. He basically says to me at the end of all of this, like, man, that's really unfortunate. I'm really sorry to hear about all this. I'm really sorry that you're suffering like this. Unfortunately, I'm going to be retiring in a few months. I'm not taking any new patients, and I wish you the best of luck. Like, he kind of like fucking pats me on the knee or pats me on the back. I don't really remember. Gives me a little fucking pat, and then he's like, yeah, best of luck, basically. And I'm sitting there like, well, fuck. Like, why didn't you just cut me off earlier? Like, why'd you fucking let me just dump my fucking heart out like this? Like, you could have just started with that. And, like, maybe you could refer me to somebody else, but he didn't. I don't know. Maybe he's having an off day. I don't really fucking know. But I basically walk out of that doctor's office thinking, like, well, that was fucking difficult, and I got nothing fucking from it. So what the fuck? Like, why would I try that again? And so I don't for a while, right? And so maybe a year or two goes by, and I'm still pretty much in the exact same position. Still haven't had a healthy relationship yet. Still really haven't figured out how to make myself feel better. And, I'm practicing some healthy habits. Like, basically, actually, no. The only healthy habits I guess I had were working out and, like, kind of staying social, even though my social crowds were not the fucking best at the time. And that's pretty much it. I was eating like garbage, sleeping like garbage. I was fucking doing drugs and not treating my fucking self right, Like, I didn't fucking reflect on myself. I never fucking journaled at that point in my life. I never fucking read books. If you told me that I would be journaling and reading books regularly now, 10 years ago, I would have fucking laughed at you. And that's pretty much my only reaction. I would have just laughed my ass off. And so I had one thing going for me, which was working out. And other than that, I was pretty much just self-destructive in every other way. A couple years after that, I finally did go back to another doctor, and that one went a little bit better, a lot more receptive. I did a little fucking couple fucking paper tests, and then basically they're like, yeah, you're fucked. You definitely need fucking help. And so they plugged me on a bunch of medication, which I can fucking talk about. That's an episode in and of itself. But basically, like, I go on fucking rounds of medication. I wean off all that medication after doing it for a fucking long ass time. It's probably like a year and a half. I'm not really 100% sure. And then I end up, it doesn't really work out with that doctor. I think, that doctor, the second doctor, referred me to a third doctor who, again, him and I didn't really click well. And then I go to a fourth doctor who then refers me to a fifth doctor. And that doctor was my guy. I've kind of told this story before. I think it was on the episode with Morgan, where I walk into his office and I basically say, like, look, I'm not looking to fucking be put on medication. I just want some fucking help, but not that. And he basically sits down and he tells me, tell me about, your work life. Tell me about, your family life. Tell me about your relationship. Tell me about your friendships. Tell me about your exercise routine. Tell me about your nutrition. Tell me about blah, 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 blah. Like, he starts fucking interviewing me, basically, like qualifying me as a fucking, patient. And he's like, look, like, you're fucking in your early 20s, you're working out every single day, you're eating decently, you have a relationship, you live close to your parents, you have a good relationship with them. I lived at home at the time, so they're like, yeah, he's like, yeah, you live with your parents, you have a good relationship with them, you have friends, you have a job, like 9 out of 10 stars align. But how often do you reflect? How often do you read books? How often, we start getting into the nitty gritty of the things that I have missing. The pillars that are supposed to be holding me up, there's a couple of them that aren't there. And so, like, you could think about like a table missing a fucking leg, basically. There's all these things that are going to hold you up in life: your nutrition, your friendships, your workplace, your fucking, a means to make a living for yourself, to provide for yourself, how much you reflect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are all things that basically will hold you up when times get tough. And I was basically like a table missing a fucking leg. And so when anything fucking bad happened in my life, when times got tough, that fucking corner seemed to fucking tumble, and it brought the whole structure down with it, except the structure is me. And so anytime anything would get fucked up in my life, I would fucking crumble. So he helps me identify some of the gaps, but the very first time I go in and see him, we have this fucking literally sit down for probably like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and he just sits there with me, and he basically says to me at the end of it, like, look, here's 2 books I want you to go out and fucking buy. I know you have a job. I know you can make money. Like, you're good on that end. I want you to go and buy these books. I want you to sit down and read them. I want you to take notes on what you learned from it. And then, only then, will I see you again. And then we'll talk about what you gained from these things. And that was like my homework. That was like the first doctor that was like actually wanting to work with me to try and figure shit out. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is my guy. And so I go home and I read those books. It takes me a while. I call in to his office. I'm like, yo, I need another appointment with the doc. And he's like, yeah, come on in. And I go in and we fucking kick it off. Like, we're homies at that point. He starts helping me with my diet. He starts helping me with my reflection. He starts helping me with the books that I'm reading. He starts helping me with everything under the sun just to get my life back in alignment. And I still credit this doctor to this day to basically saving my life. And the reason I'm telling this story isn't because, I guess I should say why I'm telling this story instead of saying why I'm not telling this story. But the reason I'm telling this story is because I went through copious amounts of doctors, like what felt like copious amounts of doctors. Like, this was the 5th doctor I had sat down in his office in like a span of like 3-4 years. And the reason I'm telling you guys this is because, maybe you're in a different situation, maybe you're in the same situation, but there's a few key elements of this story that kind of stick out to me that I still kind of find myself reminding other people of and myself of all the time, which is, the first one is, your first attempt at anything that you're trying to do in your life is never going to fucking succeed. It rarely will. You're going to have to fucking fall down on your face and get humiliated and get fucking, scared and get out of your comfort zone and then be prepared to fucking fail. A lot of the things we're going to try and execute on aren't going to fucking get executed perfectly every single time on the first time especially. And so you have to understand that failure is a part of any fucking growth process. And then you got to try again. You got to fucking collect yourself, figure out what went wrong, figure out how you can fucking do it better next time. And sometimes it's just up to the fucking odds. You can prepare as much as you want, but sometimes it is just up to the fucking odds of who you meet. If you're looking for a doctor, sometimes you're just not going to click. Sometimes you just got to fucking go through those shitty fucking experiences until you find someone that you fucking vibe with. Same shit goes for relationships. You're going to have to go through some shitty toxic relationships until you realize, oh, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. And be okay with fucking walking away from those shitty situations and those toxic ass relationships. And if you're not okay with doing that, then you're never going to fucking find the healthy ones. You're never going to find the good ones, the ones that you actually truly do deserve. And so, aside from the idea of, failure on the first or second or third or fourth or fifth attempt, and having the persistence and the perseverance to push through those things, the other end of it is like, you got to be fucking vulnerable, and you have to fucking be open with, who you are and what you're about and how you're feeling, and be able to vocalize those things and tell people like, hey, this is what makes me fucking comfortable. This is what makes me fucking uncomfortable. This is how I'm feeling right now. This is, how I felt before. Sometimes I felt that way, and sometimes I felt this way. And so you have to be able to be vulnerable and vocalize your needs and your requirements. Otherwise, they're never going to be met, And if you don't fucking speak up and stand up for yourself, who the fuck will? So that's all I got for today. I just want to share that little story and a couple of the values that I got out of that story for you guys today. I hope that it helped. I hope that it kind of helped, maybe put a problem in your life that you're dealing with in a new perspective, or maybe this is a message you've been trying to get across to somebody else, and you think that somebody that might be able to benefit from this message. And if you do think that, then fucking please share this episode with them so that they can kind of hear this message and understand that if they're going through something similar, they're not alone, and life can and will get better for them. And I think if you do that, and we can kind of help other people that are suffering, that's really the point of doing this fucking podcast. So that's all I got. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this little fucking story time as I wind up my day here. I'm about to go to bed pretty quick here, but I hope you enjoyed this little story time. I love you all. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you're about to have a good day. And that's pretty much it. Happy fucking Monday. Start the week off right. And I love you all. Much love. Peace out, motherfuckers.